"Come in and know me better, man. I am the ghost of Christmas present," said the spirit. "Look upon me." Hi guys, welcome to a new video. Today we'll be doing the next ghost in the row, being the ghost of Christmas present. As you can tell, my interpretation of the character was again a female, and I thought about what the ghost of present might look if you were visited by it now. So I tried to make it more modern and contemporary than in the, old school movies and plays of this story. So to me the spirit would be cute, very sweet and kind, here to show you the essence of Christmas being love. So first things first, the doll. I decided to make a hybrid between these two dolls because I really liked the Cleo body, but I thought her face sculpt was just a little too angular, a little too mature, so I went for this other one that is more rounded and sweet. So per usual, I cut away the original hair and also removed the face with acetone. And in this case, I had to cut away the ears on top of the head because we wouldn't need those, and the hair would later cover the fact that she wouldn't have any normal ears either. So once the face is all clean, you want to prime it with the Mr. Super Clear spray, and then get out chalk pastels, watercolor pencils, and additionally if you want some acrylic paint to get ready for the repaint. As usual, my process is pretty much the same when doing the repaint. I build up layers of pencil whenever I want something defined and sharp, and chalk pastel when I want something softer, and acrylic paint if you want opacity right away, which I didn't really do in this one. And you build up as much opacity and color as you can in each layer, seal it in with Mr. Super Clear, allow it to dry, and then you build on top, repeating a lot of the same steps. So once we have that out of the way, I'll just leave you guys to see what I'm doing on the screen, and then we can talk a little bit about my inspiration for the character. With the Ghost of Christmas Past, there was a pretty long description of features to choose from according to what the spirit looked like and Scrooge's impression of it at first. But I found with the Ghost of Christmas Present there was actually a lot less. The hair was straightforward, being dark and curly, but the outfit was described as a robe, a green robe of some sort with fur lining. It was pretty loose, hanging open. He had a wreath of holly on his head with icicles in it, and he also carried a torch that was shaped like a plenty's horn, something like that. And except for that, he was jolly and had bright eyes, and that was pretty much it. So I actually struggled a little bit with coming up for a concept of what I wanted my take on Christmas Present to look like. After thinking about it for a little while, I decided that, just like with the Ghost of Christmas Past, that I wanted the outfit for that one to look like something from the past with details from the past and being a little vintage. Then the Ghost of Christmas Present could look, present and contemporary. So since I was doing a female instead of a male, I started searching on dresses, thinking what can I do with something, that was green and with fur lining. And I just got stuck because I felt it would just look like, a Mrs. Claus outfit just in green instead of red. And I was like, that just wasn't what I was going for. I wanted it to be a little more interesting and different than that. And that's when I came to the thought of searching on, instead of, a cloak or something like that, then I searched on a coat. And I came by these pictures on Pinterest of these sweet Lolita, very Asian inspired dolly-like coats, and a lot of them had fur lining, and yes, they were all pink, but then I was like, you turn it green and then it actually fits. So that's how I chose to make the outfit consist of this cute coat, and I added a lot of details like lace detailing by pockets, and it has buttons that actually function. That's how you get the doll in and out of the coat, and the fur lining and pompoms and stuff like that. So a lot of detail to add interest to it. And for the shoes, the ghost is actually described to have bare feet, but I just felt it just would look so weird with a coat like this with details and then the doll having no shoes on. So therefore I detailed a pair of short Monster High boots that started by being, again, pink, but I painted them in a nude color so they wouldn't draw too much attention, and then left it at that. As for the face, since I had already with the outfit went into the very sweet and cute dolly-like look, I just carried on that with the face and the hair. I knew the hair was going to be brown and curly, but I decided to add bangs because it really adds to that sweet look, so I just could go all in. And also with the features of the doll, I went for very big, open, very smiley eyes to me, and I tried to do the actual, makeup of the doll a lot like a very dolly look would look on, those who actually do that sort of look on themselves. And I actually looked of, makeup looks for this like sweet Lita dolly kind of look for inspiration to like bring it all together. As for the wreath on top of the head, I at first thought about making it kind of like a flower crown because that would be cute, but I just thought it really clashed with the wintry look of the coat and everything else. So I thought about it, and then I thought what would fit the cute look, and I thought what about a hairband? So instead of having a round wreath that could sit on top of the head, I made some wreath, glittery of course, details on a hairband that she could wear instead. So back to what's going on the screen. In this final layer of the repaint, I defined the eyeliner with some acrylic paint and also did the details like the highlights of the eyes. And I didn't paint on any upper eyelashes because I like adding 3-dimensional ones. Afterwards, I just paint on some lower ones, but that's personal preference. You can just paint some on if you want to. Then you give it a final seal to seal it all in. So after it was completely dry, then I glued on the eyelashes, and I like to have them pretty long because it adds to the dolly-like look. And then I glazed the eyes and also the lips. And again, that's personal preference. It's a little harder to photograph, but I just think it brings out the colors. Before I started on the hair, I painted the scalp with brown acrylic paint, and this is just to make the hair look very dense. After that, I took some 100% acrylic yarn, which is what I'll be using for the doll hair. You can use whatever you want. And I combed it out and straightened it with my flat iron, and then also used the iron to curl the ends for this kind of, cute dolly look. The first thing I did was to glue on some straight hair for the bangs, and I also cut them down to size before I started adding the curls one by one, going around the face. After all the hair was on, I used some kitchen film and wrapped this around the top of the head just to push the hair down so it sets in a little better and goes less poofy. So for the hairband, I used a piece of wire to make it, flexible. And I glued fabric onto both sides of it to cover it and painted it green. And for the actual leaves, I used a cutter that I have to cut out the shapes in some paper. And I glued glitter onto them because, gotta soothe that glittery addiction of mine. And seal that in with some Mod Podge before I could glue them onto the hairband. And for a bit of extra sparkle and to look like little berries, I used some red rhinestones and glued those on as well. Now onto the coat. I used the kitchen film and tape method to make the top part of the pattern, and then I cut out a quarter circle and added this to the bottom part of the pattern so that we could get this almost dress shape at the bottom, and then I transferred the pieces onto paper. For the fabric, I used some deep green velvet, And it's a little darker on camera than in real life, but it's really pretty. And then you want to cut out your pieces, adding seam allowance, and sew them together. Firstly at the side, so you have the back side together and the two fronts. Then you can sew them together at the shoulders before adding in the sleeves. So it's much like sewing a fitted dress. Once you got the coat all sewn, you can pin it at the front so you can cut off any excess, and then you can start attaching the buttons. And I just sewed them on the, what's going to be the inner piece in the right distance, and then cut small slips in the upper piece so the buttons could slip through. Because this fabric doesn't fray, it doesn't have to do anything to the edges. Next you want to add on the fur lining. For that final bit of detail, I added a bit of lace to the fake pockets, and also 2 small pompoms on a string to go by the pocket. And finally, here's the doll boots I painted, and then we can put it all together. And here she is all together. I really hope you guys enjoyed my take on this. I'm actually really happy with how she turned out. I really like how this doll is so different from the previous one in this little series, and I just think it makes them, that more special. So obviously I plan to do the Ghost of Christmas Future next, which is going to be a little more futuristic, so I'm pretty excited for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the new one real soon. Bye!